What's going on, everybody? I'm here with Jason Bear. You know him online as Metal for Breakfast. And let's introduce this guy. So he's often compared to the Sid the Sloth, a Walmart brand Mr. Beast, or the mysterious fourth property brother. Metal for Breakfast is a wide-eyed goofball who lives on another planet with his best friend computer, a CPU-powered sidekick. Using Earth clones, he's amassed millions of views across TikTok and YouTube and has no intentions of stopping in this millennium. Welcome, buddy. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing right now, besides the fact that I couldn't get myself a Christmas tree.
You couldn't get a Christmas tree? Man, what happened?
So the place I usually get this Christmas tree, we go there, and for some reason we can't get one. They won't let us. They won't deliver to us. So I went home. I tried to order one online, and they won't deliver to my house either. So I'm in Christmas tree limbo right now.
Are they like nearby or something?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're a mile down the road.
They won't deliver a mile.
They won't. We're gonna
Wow.
have to have like a Charlie Brown Christmas this year.
Oh man. Yeah, my wife and I, she ended up getting like a one of those already lit trees you can pull out the box.
Right,
So I was
right.
like, cool, let's do that. I don't know. I'm not like I enjoy the whole hanging out with family stuff. I'm just
Mhm.
not a huge, like, my wife's huge into that. I'm just like, cool, it's whatever. Do what you got to
Yeah.
do.
Hey, I mean, the Christmas food comes around. Heck and heck, I'll take
Yeah,
some of
man.
that.
Yeah, the ham. I'm a huge fan of Christmas hams, man. They're pretty good.
So my holidays are really weird now because I'm vegetarian. So I'm still
Oh,
like learning the big holidays. Like
gotcha.
usually it's tofu, but it's like sometimes we want to mix it up and have something like I
Yeah,
don't know
for
what.
sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know you were a vegetarian. When did you make that switch?
I think like two years ago, I just went cold turkey because I was pretty much addicted to fast food, and I said I don't want to see what my life looks like in 25 years after eating like four Wendy's triple stack burgers a week.
Dang, yeah. And I'm kind of in that same boat. Like the wife and I are actually transitioning slowly but surely to a better diet. I've because to be clear, like I'm not doing it for fads. I'm really trying to pay attention to my body. I don't know if this is something you experienced too, but
Hmm.
like I'm seeing how I feel. Sometimes I feel sluggish
Hmm.
with certain like breads and stuff. I feel inflamed. Same thing
Mm.
with beer. I enjoy
Yep.
beer, and I'm trying to keep it occasional,
Hmm.
switching to more wines or liquor for that. But like, yeah, definitely, man, with the diet stuff, we've had a couple of meals where it's just meat and veggies,
Hmm.
and like that's been great. So I think for me, until like meat starts to cause some issues for me, like just health wise or just the way I feel, I think that's probably when I'll make the switch because we've talked about it and we
Hmm.
know there's benefits. We've done research into it. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can make the switch
Yeah,
just yet.
dude, I feel you, man. I was like hardcore, like I don't know if there's any way I could ever stop because I grew up in a house where it's like literally to this day, my dad calls me and he's like, I'm gonna go boil some bacon and bacon fat and then eat it on a burger, like every day.
So he just like reminds you.
Yeah, I just like, right. Yeah, like one week I was just like I was watching this documentary too because it was like these pigs were getting like chopped up and stuff in like this deep woods tribe or whatever, and like I was like, I always wanted to go vegetarian, like because I care about I don't really like eating animals and stuff, and I was
Mm.
just like, but I have this addiction to it, so I tried it for a week, and then the week just literally turned into forever, and now it's like it's the weirdest thing, man. I get cravings for Brussels sprouts and broccoli,
That's
and
weird.
it's so strange, man.
I not actually too strange now that I think about it because um so when I was a kid, we would drink a lot of soda. The
Hmm.
whole like Halo and Mountain Dew and
Hmm.
Doritos. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
all the snack foods. You remember back in the days where you have like an Xbox in one room and a very long LAN cable to downstairs to a whole nother room. Man, those days were great. Now it kind of sucks, to be honest, because it's fun to play online, but the fact that they didn't allow for the ability, being honest here, from a network perspective and from a like software perspective, it literally, they took out the functionality. It was nothing for them to keep it in for if people wanted to come. I mean, I guess it's not this, not any different when you just plug up your systems in the same house, but I mean, the lag, like when playing on internet, sometimes it's not the greatest, but if you can like have friends in your own local network, like still play. I don't know. I haven't looked into it to see if they still have that, but I don't know. It just, when they took that out, and at least, the option to switch, not to play on the internet, but to play LAN, because you had to switch that back then. Like those were the options. And so I don't know, man, I miss that stuff. But I mean, back to the whole, like, diets and food and soda and stuff. But like when I was a kid, we used to drink a lot of sodas, and slowly but surely, when I stopped drinking them, my wife kind of, when we started dating, like her family exposed me to like healthy eating, but I was like, whoa, slow the roll. I'm not going to dive into this like cold turkey. I need to, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it for my girlfriend at the time and her family, because I thought it was better for you. And I was like, that's nice, but I have no idea what this is, and I'm not just going to dive in here, head first. I really wanted to understand the benefits of certain things. Like I had no idea that like switching meats, like what happens with people with meat too is they get used to the same meats, because all they're doing is like just beef, like beef and rice or beef and whatever and blah blah. They just eat beef a lot. They don't switch to a different meat. Well, your digestive system gets used to that, and that's what kind of, when people experience sickness with meats, or something goes wrong, it's usually because they're eating the same kind of meat all the time, and they're not switching to fish, to pork, beef, and then you got shrimp and all the other seafood items out there, and excuse me, and so that's kind of where a little bit where that comes from. And I learned that from my wife's dad, who's a chiropractor, but he's studied a lot in nutrition and stuff like that for the body. And, that kind of helped me understand. You ever heard of alkaline water?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically there's a machine that you can plug up to your sink. It's a big machine. I'm never buying that thing. It's huge and ridiculous. I'd rather pay the thousands of dollars that are necessary to get that built into my water line.
Right.
On the incoming part of the house. I'm not going to put that in it's like a big box that sits on your kitchen sink. I'm like it's like a whole, no, I'm not. It's too bulky. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so there's studies that have shown that like drinking alkaline water and like the pH balance in your body has a lot to do with not just diet and nutrition, but a lot to do with like viruses and like sickness, because these things, like, not just, for example, when you get sick, your body gets really hot. That's what the fever is. It's trying to raise the body temperature to create an environment that's not hospitable for the virus. And so when it comes to like pH balance, it's the same thing. It's like if your body is balanced with pH, whether drinking the water or eating foods that are balanced in pH or whatever the case. I don't know the exact details. It's just what I'm learning. And it's what also helps to create an environment that's not hospitable for any type of illness.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like, that's kind of where that came from for me. But when you stop drinking soda, like, and then you take, like, we'll do that every once in a while. I'll get like a soda with a meal when we're eating out, and it just tastes it. I taste the syrup. It's gross.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it anymore. So I don't necessarily drink sodas much anymore. And like I said, with the beers, like that's becoming more occasional, and I'm trying to get accustomed to more types of liquor, just because that's it doesn't, you're not inflamed. There's no bloating, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where we kind of experienced, something close to making healthier decisions, rather than just going full cold turkey on the vegetarian. But we definitely talked about it though.
that's exactly how like we like slowly shifted into it because we realized like, wait a minute, we're drinking a 12 pack of soda a day.
Oh,
That
jeez.
can't be healthy. So
Wow.
so we switched to seltzer, and let me tell you,
Mm.
I hated seltzer. It was the bane of my existence, I
Yeah.
swear to you. And now I can't get enough of it. It's like
Mm.
so weird how like your palate will change
It
if you
does.
just like if you just stick with it for like even 2 weeks. Your palate like shifts where
Yeah.
it's like your body starts to like think differently.
Have you tried Zevia?
My girlfriend drinks Zevia a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't really like even like the like artificial sweeteners. Like I try and
Mm.
stay away from those too, just because I
Well,
don't know
yeah.
like what effects like that might have. I know that that
No,
is
for
made with
sure.
like stevia.
Yeah.
I think I don't even like the flavor of stevia, you know?
Yeah. Because I know there's a difference between like artificial sweeteners and there's like natural sweeteners that are come from plants. Like I don't do normal sugar anymore. I do monk fruit, which is
Hmm.
actually a fruit. So it's the sugar derived
Right.
from a fruit. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the only soda that I've drank. I mean, I don't drink it all the time either. And
Yeah.
I've even like found and looked into stuff how there's like carbonated drinks, not just, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter what it is. Carbonation itself, the CO2, is actually bad for your bones,
Oh.
from what I understand. Because, and I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not a doctor or anybody that studies anything like that. But I've just, when I look into that stuff,
Hmm.
um, old guys will talk about like, yeah, I drink soda for a long time, and now I have like really bad knees or like really bad joints because of
Hmm.
CO2. Something along the lines of it contributes to the buildup of calcium
Mm.
in your joints and stuff like that. And so I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So I've like looked into that too.
Totally. Yeah,
Just weird stuff.
it's interesting. It's like there's so many things that like we think are like there's so many things that we like lose track of that like aren't natural, and
Yeah.
it's like just become like mainstream, like carbonation. Like unless you had like mineral water from somewhere in like a high mountain or where I don't know wherever
The
like
Himalayas.
yeah, wherever actual mineral water comes from, it's
Yeah.
like we wouldn't have like carbonated like anything, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know who actually created that stuff. It's pretty interesting to look into that and see who started that. Because the thing that I've always wondered is like, when these unhealthy foods came into the environment, like for example, chewing gum has actually been around since the 1800s,
Hmm.
but it wasn't made mainstream until and I'm only knowing this from the book Atomic Habits that I'm reading, and they talk about the chewing gum and the fact that they were able to make it like globally popular when
Hmm.
they, instead of having just bland chewing gum, they actually
Hmm.
introduced flavors. So they basically changed your brain to start introducing the dopamine of this tastes nice. I like this. I'm going to keep
Right.
doing it. And so that's kind of, I think, when the company started realizing that they wanted to associate like dopamine with what you're doing, whether it's eating food, candies, whatever.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of where it continued to do that. And because it's not actually nutritional, your body still thinks you're hungry, which is where obesity comes from, which is
Right.
terrible. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just, these things I've looked into. But yeah, super interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be difficult to even try to eat healthy like in like the system we have, you know? It seems like there it's like 99% of the options are like artificial this, artificial that, like, you know, GMO this. It's like harder to get real organic just food than it is to get like, you know,
Yeah.
such an
Well,
imbalance there.
like natural flavors too. Like
Hmm.
I've been annoyed when I see that because I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just like my wife actually is wanting to start a YouTube channel. It's called Clean Living,
Hmm.
and I've been helping her kind of dive into it because I'm more of an analytical person. I'm like, well, if you dive into that, I think the most important thing for you to do is, because she started looking into like the ingredients inside of like what we use to clean our bodies, what we use to
Hmm.
clean our homes, and in the past people have been labeled like hippies or whatever, because whatever you want, like oil freaks, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call them. But the reality is the biggest question is, okay, what is inside of the product we buy and use every day, and is it actually safe? Like
Right.
it's not that it's going to kill you, but for example, if you're cleaning with cleaning supplies and you find yourself not being able to breathe because you're in the room and the door's closed or whatever the case, then that's probably
Yeah.
not good for you.
Yeah. And it's
So,
it's
yeah.
so like widely available that it's like people are like, well, that's fine if some of them are selling it. It
Yeah.
must be. But it's
It's
like,
good.
no, you
Yeah.
gotta like pay attention to those things
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
think more outside of like the system of all these products and like it's a wild mess out there.
For sure. Have you got, I mean, with the journey, so you're both vegan then, right? No?
Vegetarian.
Or,
But
okay. So
or I think
is
my
there a
girlfriend
difference?
would be pescatarian because she eats fish sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, vegan is I could completely get this wrong, but I believe vegan is not eating any kind of animal product at all. So like
Oh,
honey,
okay.
eggs, that kind of stuff. But vegetarian is just no meats, but I'll
Mm,
still eat like eggs and honey and like things that come from animals that are just like a natural byproduct of an animal that
gotcha.
wouldn't
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
yeah.
So my wife is going to kill me if I don't actually ask this question because we were talking about the dogs last night. And I was late a few minutes giving you the call for the pre-show because I was wrestling with my dog literally on the
I mean,
couch.
that's a valid reason to be late every time.
Like it was hilarious because like the way that him and I will play, it's just I find it funny because his personality and the way that he'll play.
Mhm.
If my glasses start to become a problem while we're playing, I'll be like,
Mhm.
stop. And he literally freezes. And I put my glasses down and he sees me put my glasses down and we go back at it.
Oh my god, I love it.
It's hilarious. He's technically he's a pit bull boxer mix,
Yeah.
but we tell people he's just a boxer mix because
He must be an energetic dog. I know some boxers.
dude, yeah. I wasn't joking last night when I told you he will take off running because we have wood floors. So when we get to take him in for lunch, I take his harness off, and it's these two buckles because he's learned how to just slide right out of it. It's crazy because he's a very good dog. People don't understand this. He's a very good dog, and here's why. He knows how to get out of that thing even when I have it buckled on him. All he's got to do is tug this way, get his head out of it, and then he'll just pop his arms over and he's gone. So he knows how to get out of it if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
To see him like bark at a dog, he just tries to go forward and he knows how to get out of the harness.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But so my wife's gonna kill me. What kind of dog do you have?
So they told us that she was a Silken Windhound Blue Heeler mix.
Okay.
But since we've had her, we're kind of thinking she's a Silken Windhound Golden Retriever mix. Because her head and her ears are very Golden Retriever-ish with like golden here. But then the rest of her is like silken, but she's also very behaved and knows how to listen really well. So I'm like, this is a little more Golden Retriever-ish, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Retrievers are nice. They're good dogs, man. I've only had I haven't had a Golden Retriever before. I've had a dog named Champ. He was a Doberman Pinscher a long time ago. We had another dog after that. He's sort of a fluffy. He looks just like a Doberman Pinscher, and his colors look the same. But he's like a fluffier version. He looks just like a Golden Retriever, but he's not one.
Yeah.
I don't know his breed, honestly. But yeah, other than that, I can't remember if we had any dogs after that. But I know because I moved between my mom's house and my dad's house. My mom and dad were divorced at a super young age. And so my dad's house in Arizona, my grandma, like we had this dog named Katie. Found the dog in the Home Depot. Yeah, the Home Depot parking lot. Some lady was like, "You want a dog?" She was so adorable, and we were like,
"You can't say no."
Yeah, sure. And so we told my grandma that we found her in the parking lot walking around at
Mhm.
Home Depot. So it made my grandma feel like sad for the dog.
Yeah.
So we could keep him because I was like still in high school at the time.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it was cute. And we kept the dog until unfortunately she passed away due to joint
Mhm.
issues, which unfortunately affects a lot of dogs. It's
Mhm.
like crossbreeding, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so moving on to another important question that I think a lot of people might want to know is why metal for breakfast?
All right. So it just popped in my head out of nowhere, right? But then I realized it kind of does link up to like three things. Okay. So number one, my trade, like my skill that I had used before I became a video editor to make money was machining stuff
Hmm.
as a machinist. So I would like take like raw chunks of metal and like use tools and like program machines to, like cut things out of them, right? So that's the first leg of it. Second leg is that like I am a huge metalhead. Metal is like flows through my veins, metal music. Like I play metal guitar, like metal. Oh, I'm so into it, like full on. And then the third kind of thing is that I just have like this like mindset in the morning to just like get out of bed and like attack the day, which is kind of like, I don't know, metal for breakfast. Like if you're eating metal for breakfast, I mean, you're probably ready to go and like get stuff done. or
There
you
you
have
go.
brain damage or something.
Oh, no, it reminds me of the movie. I think it's called Robots, but it was a Disney movie, and I think that's something they did. They're eating like metal shreds or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, metal for breakfast, man, makes sense. But that's awesome. There's a YouTube channel I gotta show you. This guy, he's a metal enthusiast, if you will.
Mhm.
He has his cinematography is off the charts, and I don't
Mhm.
know if you're familiar with him. I can't remember the channel, but when I find it, I'll send it to you. But the guy did. I'm a huge fan of this awesome guitarist named Andy McKee,
Mhm.
and he did a cover of one of his songs in Africa, I believe it's called,
Mhm.
but he did it full on metal, the entire thing metal. Like
Yeah.
him, another friend of his, and then I think he played drums for it as well. And then he had a female vocalist. Thing
Mhm.
was banging. Like I think it was
Yeah.
better than his original song. I was just like
Yeah.
blew my mind. Like that's the kind of metal that I really love to listen to because I grew up with classic rock stuff like that. And then
Mhm.
when I got into metal music, I really loved like the distortion of a guitar and like playing that
Mhm.
and just figuring stuff out. But like the distortion, like just the level of metal, if you will,
Yeah.
in this guy's music is just the kind that I just really enjoy. So when I find the channel, I'll have to send it to you. It's really
Definitely.
fun to watch.
For sure.
Um, so let's dive into sort of the YouTube stuff, the TikTok stuff. To start with that, what made you want to start YouTube? Like what got you into it?
Hmm. I was trying to think about this yesterday, and I couldn't really come up with anything specific. But I know that around the time I had seen like Casey Neistat's
Mm-hmm.
vlogs, like some Peter McKinnon stuff, and like
Mm-hmm.
kind of making videos was completely like new to me. I'd never even like thought about it before, right?
Yeah.
And then I think my brother he started posting some vlogs, and I just, with that combination of things like within my brain, I said, well, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And then I literally just filmed my day for like,
Mm.
I think I did like 2 or 3 vlogs a week for like a month. And there was like no, like they're still on my channel. They're still my first videos on my channel. It's like there's no storyline or anything like that. But I think it was just something that I wanted to like try, because usually when I like, if my brain latches onto something and it gets interested in something, it's just right away. It's like, let's go, let's do it. And it just jumps into it. So I think that kind of like momentum swept me into it. And I've just been
Mm.
like kind of riding that wave ever since.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I dove into, I have like and I shouldn't have done this, but I deleted my first 100 videos.
Oh no.
It it was. I thought I was doing a good thing in cleaning it up for like the algorithm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I think back on it now and I realized I did myself a disservice because I didn't have any copies of any of those videos anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I shouldn't have deleted them because then it would have like shown the progression of like how I've progressed over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was posting videos like way years before I met my wife
Mm-hmm.
and like did a lot of adjustments in my life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think people that keep all of their videos, I think it's a super important part for people to
Mm-hmm.
hear. Keep every video. Don't delete them. Like it's you see that with MKBHD, you see that with Mr. Beast. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there would be no here's who I was and here's where I am now. There would
Mm-hmm.
be none of that. You'd have no idea. You just see this successful channel, and I think yeah, I definitely did myself a disservice with that.
Yeah, I've had thoughts before of like, well, if I delete these videos, then like, will my overall click through rate be higher? Like, will it shift this? Will it shift that?
Hmm.
And then like I realized that like no, it's like just looking at like Mr. Beast's channel, like when he started with like Minecraft videos and Let's Plays, and like how much does this YouTuber make? How much does this YouTuber make? Like even like 30-second like videos that had to do with nothing. It's like his channel is still like dynamically evolved from that point. So I feel like even if you have videos from like 5 years ago on like how to fix monster trucks, and now your videos are all about how to play the drums, like the algorithm's going to learn that, and it's going to like
Yeah,
naturally grow. It's not going to look back and be like, well, he has all these videos about monster trucks, like maybe we won't push him. It's going to focus on the
right.
current content, you know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually because if you think about like the type of videos that Mr. Beast did have and the ones he does now, like people watch the ones he has now. They don't necessarily go. I mean, they probably do, but like the percentage of people that go back and watch are
Mm-hmm.
very low.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I can understand that. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been your story? I mean, we're going to dive into a little bit of the meat and potatoes, and I say that as a joke. Uh, of the story of because I mean this is the real thing that a lot of YouTubers or I say content creators as a whole, it doesn't matter what platform,
Mm-hmm.
struggle with. I've struggled with it, and honestly, one of the main reasons why I wanted to get more involved on Twitter, why I wanted to do a podcast, I wanted to have conversations that were real,
Mm-hmm.
that gave perspective. I mean, that's pretty much the tagline when I get the opportunity to have the intro actually produced. That's what you're going to hear is, this is a long form conversation that's focused around people that might have a business or a passion or perspective that could help
Mm-hmm.
you, opinions that could help expand your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to like content creation, it's like a very solo thing unless you have like a partner or friends helping you, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have down times, you have like periods where it's like emotionally draining, you're judging yourself, you're thinking like, what am I doing? Like I'm hanging out with all these other awesome creators, I'm creating, but what's going on? Like, or I'm getting to know these cool people and I'm making content, but it doesn't seem like my stuff's ringing through,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, like it was kind of that same thing where I'd make something and I would go through and do titles and thumbnails and descriptions and tags and all the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it would seem like nothing would happen to that video, and it's like, and that would make me feel like, well, I guess like I'm not successful, or I can't create good content.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an up and down battle. I mean, there's days where I'm having like I'm super fired up for creating content. Other days I'm like nah. And then the periods of time that I don't create, it seems to be uh, like where I'm hitting my own mental blocks,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't publish because, or I don't come in here and just literally do the easiest thing, which is just come in here and click record
Mm-hmm.
and just try to make something, after writing some thoughts down on an outline or something like that. And that's literally how easy it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it becomes difficult because of those mental blocks. So what have you experienced in the your journey with creating content on YouTube? You switched to TikTok, you found some success there. Now you're coming
Mhm.
back to YouTube. So I know it's really broad, but if you could sort of break down at least what has been your journey with YouTube,
Mhm.
have you experienced downtimes and what were they?
I mean, absolutely. Like everything that you just said, it was basically like things that I feel even to this day, right? Like, um, I think, I think so. Back when Peter McKinnon had his like looking for an editor type thing was like the first video I had that really like the algorithm paid attention to, right? Before that, it was just like YouTube basically ignores it because it's just a vlog, it's just this, it's that. But like that was the first video I made that had some kind of like context that people would be interested in
Mm,
and not necessarily interested in me, but they wanted to see like who I was because like I'm applying to be his editor. So I think that's why I got clicks.
mm,
Um, After that point, it was I kind of had that like surge of like, well, I gotta like really ramp up and like keep making things that are better and better and better and better. And I think like I kept that up for a while, and then I reached this like massive burnout phase that like I feel
mm,
like I'm just like over the past like last year had got over more. Um, like it's like I know that so many people talk about burnout, right? You can find thousands of videos about burnout on YouTube, and I think the problem is that we relate burning out to just being a YouTube thing, right?
mm,
When it's like you could burn out with anything in life, right? If you're pushing yourself too hard, like mentally, like think about it. If you never went to sleep and your goal was to stay up for 3 months because that was like your goal, right? And you wanted to do that, you wouldn't make it. Your body would just naturally just shut off because it can't handle that amount of stress, right?
right, right.
So I feel like it's definitely it's really something to be aware of, and something that I've learned lately is like whenever I would have a like I'm a very like productive person. Like if I'm not doing something with my brain or like working on something or like trying to create something or invent something, or if I'm even not just using my brain to think about like what if scenarios, right?
Mm-hmm.
I start to feel like I'm not doing anything with my day. Like this day, I get these thoughts of like, well, I'm lazy. I'm not good enough.
Mm,
I didn't even do one thing today, right? And we start to like beat ourselves up for not even doing one thing. And something that I learned recently these past few months is like it's totally fine like to give yourself a day to just like reset and like reboot,
mm,
right? And it's like if you think about it, if you're doing absolutely nothing and just breathing for a second, right? Catching your breath, not worrying about like progressing, not worrying about like how you're going to do this or that or when you're going to get it done by. If you just give yourself a second to breathe, you're still doing something because like you're doing something extremely important. You're like invigorating like your soul by giving yourself that time to
mm,
like come back to life fully and not just like kind of clinging and desperately trying to like get ahead, you know? It gives you that much more power and stability to come back like focused and like ready to put in an effort on things. So that's something that I've like really been trying to implement lately in my like daily routines is like
mm,
not beat myself up for like not releasing videos weekly or like
mm,
even every other week. Like I'm just trying to accept that um I'm a human, right? And I think the level of content that YouTube demands to like be successful, like at this point, I feel like it's going to be a slow start doing it solo because I feel like at this point the level of content you need coming out for YouTube, like you kind of need like some kind of team, but you can't
Right.
get a team until you're successful on YouTube. So you can only
Right.
do, so I think the trade-off there is just being even more patient with the like results, because you have to start alone and it's going to be a longer journey. And like the longer you wait to start, the longer your journey is going to be, right? Because the YouTube's only going to get more and more like filled with better and better content, and it's going to be more competitive.
Yeah.
So like,
Unless you're like that van life chick that went to 1 million subscribers
yeah,
in like
yeah.
less than 2 months, like that was ridiculous. Like she took one thumbnail photo in a towel and it was over.
That's it. That's so interesting, because I was like thinking about that when that happened, and I was like, are people really this interested in that, or is this some kind of algorithm like error? Because I remember back when I had the Peter McKinnon spike, right? I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then like a week later, like YouTube, like after the traffic had died, YouTube like sent out an email saying like there had been like a glitch in like their algorithm or something that may have caused like a higher number of views. And I was like, I'll take it anyways.
Like, why would you apologize for that?
Yeah.
Like we're sorry for giving you views.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because right now with like with the shorts algorithm, I'm seeing like really erratic like results from like the amount of views and traffic that shorts are getting, because I can like visually see them kind of turning on and off things in the algorithm. Like my view time for my my shorts that are doing really good right now will be like 200, 300 views an hour. And then it just literally one bar, it goes up to like 16,000 and sits there for like a few hours. And then the next bar just down to like 200 or 300. And all I can think from that is that they're literally like either turning something on or off within like their algorithm, trying to test for like the best amount of like watch time and views and all that for the algorithm before they release it to the masses,
What I think is interesting about shorts that I've noticed is I think YouTube might be trying to do a little too much. And what I mean by that is like there are simple things that can be frustrating about YouTube that you wish you would have. It's literally like the place for video content. And you would think you'd be able to have a little bit more control over the way you organize your content, whether it's organize the stuff you've watched or organize this, like, and I don't know. I mean, but when you look at shorts, I actually got annoyed with shorts because I would watch them and I get stuck in them like I did with TikTok's videos. But the problem with that is I was trying to find a video I watched in my history, and I did not know that the shorts would take up your history because they're like, oh, you watched it. And I'm like, oh, I watched like 500 videos. You're telling me now to find something I watched yesterday. I have to continue to scroll. It was, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think I like the idea that these platforms are just saying, we just got to be competitive and we have to have like stories. Like Twitter finally came out with stories. And I think all that's great. I think what's important though is that they, for example, with the shorts, maybe it's just me complaining, but they shouldn't put the watch history for shorts in the same place that the rest of the videos are. I think they should start changing the history to reflect shorts in addition to regular videos, because shorts aren't the same content. They're in a totally different flow, in my opinion, like, because when you get into it, literally takes you to a whole different section. It's not like you can go and like choose what short you want to watch. It's like literally whatever's next.
Right.
And so, same thing as TikTok. And so with that, I feel like it's not the same as like just watching a video and going to the next.
Totally. Yeah, I could see them adding in just like a shorts section and then like, I don't know, standard section, whatever they end up calling it. But I think that'd definitely be good because, yeah, like you said, like YouTube's filled with like value content, right?
Yeah.
And like shorts and like TikTok and that kind of stuff right now, at the very least, is like filled with like funny, like comedy, right? So
yeah, funny or drama.
Like,
yeah.
Right. It's definitely would be good to be able to like separate them, or just like have a little checkbox that says like filter shorts, and they just disappear.
Yeah, just something, because and I'm a programmer by hobby, and I'm
Mhm.
hopefully trying to make it a full-time profession.
Mhm.
But when I think of things like that, I'm always thinking of like, how do you present data? Like, how do you present it? Like, and so when I see these big companies, I don't know, I guess I'm a little more critical simply because, like Facebook, I've really kind of gotten to a point where I'm like, I open it like I open the fridge, so it's sort of that kind of a bad habit, but like I'm
Yeah.
trying to move away from it. And
Mhm.
even from a personal branding perspective, I still think it's important for people to at least have like a Facebook public figure page, but you can manage that from a public figure page from like a business manager app that Facebook has now. So you can have a profile but never use it, but just use the public figure page
Mhm.
for the content needs. But like I'm slowly trying to possibly move away from Facebook. It's only because I have a
Mhm.
lot of friends and people that actually interact with my content on Facebook right now. But as soon as I get to the point where things are starting to make more sense on Twitter and Instagram, I think I'm
Mhm.
going to focus more on those rather than Facebook because I mean their app is like they're always changing stuff or like they're always making these updates that don't work or things stop working and
Mhm.
notifications or whatever, all these things. And so and with YouTube, I don't think I've experienced that, but I have seen things that just don't make sense. I'm like, this is a very large platform. You'd think you'd be able to do this or that, and it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining from a programmer perspective because I see a lot more than somebody who doesn't. But it's the same thing as like movies, right? Like we know how things get made, and does actually that's a good question. Do you feel like knowing how to edit or knowing how things are made behind the scenes does that ruin your ability to watch a movie?
No, not at all.
No.
No, because usually those if it's like a high production movie,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they say like if you don't even notice the edits there, then it's a good edit. And usually I don't even notice, you know.
Yeah, I find myself catching those like behind the scenes stuff before I even see a movie
Mhm.
sometimes, and so I see how they do it. Like I think it was 1917 was a great movie in that literally almost everything was like a single like run through type of take.
Mhm.
Like they didn't do another take; like they had to do the entire thing.
Right.
It they when they were filming on actual outdoor set in a field, they even had to wait for clouds, which was
Mm.
pretty crazy. But they did a really awesome seamless shot where they jumped from a certain area like into water in a
Mhm.
like a waterfall type of situation. They jumped into the river below and the transition between that was super interesting. But anyways, my point of bringing that up is say like I find myself with programming in addition to like video editing, like I'm not saying it ruins it. It's just I ask people if that's how they feel about it. But for me, I
Mhm.
find myself like really picking apart movies and scenes and stuff and like seeing how they would do this or that. It's interesting to like learn it, but movies that really like you mentioned like conceal the edit where you don't notice it. If all the stuff is just to the point where you don't even know,
Mhm.
then it's amazing. But it makes watching like B-rated or C-rated movies even more terrible. Like I
Right.
don't mind because like I grew up in the blockbuster days where you get so excited because you can rent like two movies at a time
Yeah.
and you go back and you like grab a movie like yeah let's just watch this movie. It's like a scary
Yeah.
movie or there's other things like just crappy comedy or whatever. But the action movies back in the day when it was just like crappy effects and you could get away with a lot of that. Nowadays, at least for me, I can notice those are just really crappy effects or really crappy movie overall, and I got to turn it off after like 5 minutes.
Yeah, visual effects definitely stand out to me. I'm like, oh, this is definitely an old movie here.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely noticed that. So you recently mentioned on Twitter that you might have found your thing.
Mm.
Because we talked about the ups and downs, and so like what do you think that is? Are you like trying to hold out on an announcement or because what do you got going on there, man?
No, so I guess like recently I'd gone through another a mini like burnout again, right?
Yeah.
And I recently released a video that was literally just like me talking to the camera, which I'd never done. And it was like I basically like within myself stopped trying to constantly be thinking about what the algorithm wants. What does the algorithm, how does it want it formatted? How does it want the videos like in sequence? Like what's the topic? Like what is my niche? Like what is my channel about, right?
Yeah.
And I like recently like have you heard of Dr. Disrespect?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I found Dr. Disrespect this year. and and I was on Twitch like for a tiny bit last year. I was it might have been 2 years ago. And I was just like playing my guitar on Twitch and like I didn't stick with it or anything. But then I found Dr. Disrespect and I saw the absolute quality and showmanship of his like it's basically a show. It's basically a
Yeah.
TV show. Like you're watching and I realized that literally I haven't seen anybody else who's even come close to that kind of like production quality in a live broadcast.
Hmm.
And then I realized that this whole like live interaction with like your fans and audience and community, I've seen multiple people who are live streamers like on Twitter that have such a like deep connection to their community that I couldn't find trying to like just post videos every now and then reply to a comment and then like post a tweet and
Yeah.
reply to a tweet. Like it's very kind of like distanced. But what
Yeah.
I realized is that these streamers like live streaming are building like a like it almost face to face like direct contact like support and audience and like
Yeah. Like a
building
community.
it, yeah, like an actual community that like you
Hmm.
know people and you like that kind of stuff. And I realized that that's kind of what was missing from like my approach was like I'm just making these videos for the algorithm and hoping the algorithm will like it and hoping that it'll
Yeah.
get picked up and stuff versus like making things for a community that's gonna keep coming back. So I realized that like heck and heck, I was like, I can give it a shot at this like character type streaming thing. And slowly over the course of like literally like 2 weeks, it felt like all the puzzle pieces that I had found
Mm.
along the way, all those little things that I learned about myself, like creating videos and like making content and stuff, had like fallen into place on Twitch or live streaming in general. Like, because I realized one of my big problems is that I have a big problem sitting down and making a video because before the video, I have to write out all the details. I have to write out topics and talking points and like actually pick things out that are going to be useful to people and put them in a video and then put in keywords like throughout it so the algorithm can like pick those up and speak everything very clearly and then come up with like there's the amount of effort that goes into one video is like a full-on like production, right? And the way my brain works is very like short-sighted. It's very
Yeah.
just like one bit at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I realized that streaming, if I can just get better at like improving, like
Yeah.
doing things on the fly, because like Twitter, it's weird. If I'm scrolling through Twitter, I've developed this ability to like just come up with a funny reply that I think would be funny or like the perfect GIF like instantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't even have to think about it. And I'm like, if I could just learn to do this with interactions with people, then that would be like a game changer for me. So I just started like practicing and I just went to my first improv class like virtually like 2 weeks ago. And I'm basically trying to develop that skill of like entertaining a live audience versus
Yeah.
like condensing that all into a video and like it's completely different route like of just like actually building like a community is like the biggest thing that I'm like really excited about, and I'll be able to like really like give back and communicate with the people who have supported me for so long. So all those things combined, like I realized that like my personality, like I've always had this dream of like if I was like living in the future, I would be like this space traveler who like collected junk and like fixed it and made these like crazy inventions, or I don't know, something like that, right? And I'm like developing this character who like lives on another planet and streams to Twitch, like because he has a satellite dish, and like my mind is like wrapping around this story and like really making it come to life. And I have constantly so many ideas of like new ways that I can interact with the people in the community. Like I want to take it even further than Dr. Disrespect. Like I want to go like the next level, like I feel like is possible. And like I'm trying to like build that because I haven't seen it yet. And I realized I should build what I want to see. And I haven't seen this yet. So I'm giving it my all. And I'm literally like I just made the decision, like everything, it clicked so like solidly that like even with these short videos going, I'm like the content I'm going to be posting moving forward is going to be funny clips from my stream. It's like completely different than like what the a so-called niche would be, right? But I just have this like confidence I haven't felt before of like being able to consistently post these videos now, like on my channel, and have some kind of like theme around it. I think will be extremely powerful. And then combined with like building like a real community and people that I am actually interacting with and people who are actually like there, you know?
Yeah.
I think the combo of that is going to be like massive, because I've seen so many people do that combo before, and I realized like that's the missing key, is to like build community, like people.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, because I think for me, like I think first, I think what's important too is like I've seen this on Reddit, I've seen this in other places, like people streaming just doing shit they love to do. Like I think that's just king above all. Like it doesn't matter, you know, what you decide to stream. I think the most important thing is like self-awareness. Like I've learned more about myself, but there's still hurdles to overcome. But then, you know, and I've thought about streaming. I've done a little bit. I still don't understand how Twitch works, but I think the thing that I struggle with and have struggled with is like, and I'm slowly getting into really who I am, because I came from like this person who thinks he has to be religious. I have to say these things because at the end of the day, I was just trying to be accepted. I was trying to be, you know, I wanted to be a part of, you know what I mean? I wanted to be a part of a community. And as I found out that I was just doing that for attention, I didn't think that was right. So I stopped that. And then because I grew up around a family, like, and I felt very, very like at home in an area where people are just talking shit about each other and we're just joking, we're, you know, whatever, like, just. And then when I got in the military, it was like, it felt even more like that. And then my wife's in the U.S. Air Force. So it's just, there's a lot of like all those elements. But then when I get online, I'm like, oh, I got to be this like, you know, this good guy, this wholesome guy. You can't cuss. Like I actually never really cussed much on Facebook until recently this year. I've been starting kind of like not caring. I've always like had this problem where I cared too much about what other people thought. And so I would be like conservative in a way. But I stopped caring. Like it's not that I want to necessarily smoke pot, but I love the idea that that's going to be something that's hopefully becoming illegal, because there's friends of mine and family members who, you know, need it for pain or, you know, medical reasons or, you know, mental issues or whatever the case may be. So I was super excited about that because I'm excited for them. And, you know, it's a controversial thing because of the people that I'm friends with. But then I kind of just realized, I was like, man, I don't care. You know, I'm excited for this. I'm excited because also there's things that I struggle with that if I try it down the road and it works out and it helps me with anxiety, which I found recently that I might have, but I'm not clinically diagnosed with, you know, and some other things that I struggle with, like, because CBD, I've tried CBD and it actually really helped me focus. And that's been a problem too, where you're trying to like, you know, you're trying to do stuff and your brain just goes a million miles an hour and, you know, it's really hard to kind of keep it, you know, bring it in. And so
Mm-hmm.
CBD kind of helped me with that a little bit. And so I'm interested in that. And but to continue with that, it's like I that's why when I created this podcast, I wanted to make it explicit. I didn't want to have it like wholesome, nothing like that. It was like, no, we're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna be talking to somebody, and it's the conversation is gonna go where it's gonna go. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're grown adults. We're gonna have those conversations. It's gonna go down directions that may not be, child friendly. Words aren't gonna be child friendly. It's not like the entire podcast is just going to be sitting here talking about, just stuff that's mainly focused on adult oriented stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it doesn't matter. But the main thing is we're going to have a conversation,
Right.
and there's going to be cussing. There's going to be like whatever. And, the main thing is like, I just want to have a conversation that I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And, going back to the streaming, kind of tying that all together is, I've found that I've had a struggle with being truly who I am.
Mm.
And I know who I am. I know who I want to be. And I'm growing over time. Like, I think the biggest thing that I think people struggle with in general, that I'm getting to understand is like acknowledging something you struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
but don't stop there. Like, dive into it, start picking it out when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like with this podcast, it's actually helped me learn a lot of things about communication about myself that I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, what I've been doing as I've been asking you questions is I'll ask you a question and I'll literally say this in my head and I'll be like, listen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise my brain, I used to have this bad habit and I'm getting out of it slowly but surely, is I would have a thought. I wouldn't want to forget it. And so I'd have to say it. So not to be rude to the person, I would interrupt, but not intentionally trying to be a dick, but it was because I didn't want to forget the thought.
Right.
And then I would find ways to learn how to repeat a couple of words from the thought in my head until I got to the point where I could find a pause and I continue going from there and just learn these things. But the reality is, I think a lot of times people struggle with, we're expected to be this person at whatever age you are, but the reality is literally everybody's coming from different backgrounds. They've learned different things in their lives at different parts of their life. And I was afraid to come out with who I am because I was under this impression that people were just expecting me to be this person, when I actually have a lot of things that I'm working on, trying to be better at as a person overall. And yeah, that's been kind of the fear. And so the explicit nature of kind of who I am from like my immediate family, my mom, my brother, my sister, brought my wife home for the first time, when we were dating at first, and she was shocked.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to do. Her family is like super religious, or they were. And, her mom and dad got divorced as well. So it's just funny how religious a family can be. And then all of a sudden the mom and dad break apart and you're like, okay, it wasn't really that religious. All right, then. But anyways, she comes to my mom's house and we're all talking shit about each other. And she doesn't know what to do. She's like, you guys are mean.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we're not. Like, we just it's just kind of a way to be funny and sort of I love you type of deal without like being all lovey dovey.
Yeah.
And and so man, I think people need to be open to just being who they are and not worrying about that. And I've learned that from people. I respect people that are like 100% like maybe somebody doesn't do their hair like when they go to do a video, or maybe they like do something, all of a sudden they make a mistake and they're like, meh, whatever. Like I admire people that like they're cool with their mistakes and like they'll try to do better next time, but they're not going to let that like tear them down. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I totally feel that. Like it's like you said, like the thing is like we all come from totally different backgrounds, right? So we all have these different things that we all have to deal with like in our heads, right? And I think, yeah, it's like literally the best thing you can do is just like, if you know that you're trying, right? It really doesn't matter what anyone else is thinking, because like if they're saying something, they're probably ignoring their problems that they have to deal with. And like the fact that, like you said, if you can like recognize something about yourself and have the courage to actually stop and like face it, like this burnout thing that I've been feeling. Like I always
Yeah.
had this feeling of like, I have to do something. I have to do something. If I'm not doing something, I'm being lazy and I'm a failure, not like never going to make it anywhere. Right. And then I faced that and I realized that the answer wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Like, I'm not a failure. I'm not like devoid of skills. I'm not like devoid of like likableness. Like literally the answer was that no, I just need a second to breathe. Like my body just asking for a second to breathe. And then when I come back from that, it's like, oh, well, here I am. I'm back in it again. I feel like that's just like one of those little things. And it's like there's so many different things with like my brain. Like I have such a hard time focusing. Like it's so difficult for me to focus. And like that's one of the things that I'm really trying to like figure out how I'm going to make that work for me. And like I'm in that process of discovering like, okay, do I just need like a simple list format, like list out things I need to do? Will a calendar work for me? And it's just a slow process until you find that puzzle piece that clicks in, and not beating yourself up along the way, because literally like nobody's beating you up along the way. If you're feeling like put down, it's just yourself, right? And you control yourself, so you can stop that.
Right.
You can cut that feeling completely off, and it'll make it that much easier to keep going, because you're going to keep going down the path anyways. So you might as well not feel like shit while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for example, with Twitch, like seeing the direction you're going kind of excites me to want to try it as well, because as I'm starting to continue to be really who I want to be, honestly. And it's funny because it's sort of like I never know the words to use, but I want to say homage maybe is the right word to the fact that I'm almost 30. And it's like, I'm going to get into a whole another larger chapter of my life. The wife and I are, we're about a year or two away from like starting to have kids. We want to like take care of debt and then, go that direction. But like we, to stream, like I play games pretty damn rough. Like I'll cuss and scream and I'll get pissed and I'll be like, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it's a wild ride. But sometimes it can be funny. And then sometimes, but going back to kind of, an interesting point that you made in regards to like going to improv. I had no idea that there was a difference between like, cause I actually had a comedian on my podcast.
Yeah.
His name is Paul Green. And he's a really interesting guy. He's super conservative though. But what I've learned from him was that there's a difference between improv and stand-up, like with comedy. And he was like, yeah, because like with improv, anybody can like come in and like, like improvise really in a situation where, maybe somebody made a mistake or something happened or whatever. And but with stand-up, it's a bit different. Like stand-up, you have to you can work with the crowd in a live audience, right? But there's a difference between working with the crowd, and from what I learned from him was like you talk to people that have that bring people on TV shows and give them their first break or whatever, if you will. I didn't know this, but like they were like, yeah, you give me 5 minutes of your comedy without crowd work. And when he was telling me this, like, what do you mean? He was like, I thought that works. He's like, no. Your comedy has to stand alone from the crowd. Like if your comedy, if I can't watch your comedy and laugh, but if your comedy is like we're talking to somebody like in the crowd, like that's great. But like your comedy has to stand alone from crowd. Right. And like I had no idea. Yeah, and I didn't know that. I was like, that's really interesting. Okay. And so, you kind of made an interesting point about like actually going to take improv classes. But your building of the community is going to be primarily working with, the live audience. But in addition, you're going to be focused in playing a game or whatever you're doing. And in doing that, you're also trying to interact, not necessarily with the audience, but like, just build a show, like you mentioned, like just show, like, and then every so often you're like, audience, what's up, what's going on, and then like kind of responding that way, and like that's when I realized like that's a talent, man. That's a real, that's a new day acting type of
Hmm.
situation. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's like I have never seen anything like that before. It's like I was talking to it with my girlfriend about it, like when I started Twitch streaming, and she was kind of like, people are gonna watch you play video games, like that's dumb. That's Why would they watch you? Like that's boring. And I started to explain to her that it's like it's not what I'm playing. Like people aren't there to like really watch me play a game. The video game is the medium. Like
Mm-hmm.
the video game is just what everyone. It's like the campfire. Everyone's surrounded by the campfire. The video game is just the campfire. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. You could be drawing. You could be reading a book. You could just be like sitting on a sidewalk on a chair. Right. It's kind of just like thing that like everyone comes together around as the community, and as you keep doing it, and you get like better at I would definitely say that like Twitch, like the improv I'm taking is actually like improv for Twitch streaming by Business
Oh yeah,
Business, this guy who does Twitch with like this SNES like robot head as his like person, and its
nice.
mouth moves while he plays the game.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah.
He like
So
makes it move while he's playing the game.
yes, he had
Oh,
his
that's
friend.
nuts.
He had his friend like wire it up so when he talks, like the little like cartridge flap moves so he talks, and the eyes are like lit up. It's really cool.
So
Um,
so he doesn't have his head showing.
no, he plays the role of the roommate. So the
Oh
story is,
wow.
yeah, the story is like this kid who loves video games got stuck inside this Super Nintendo console and is doomed to eternity to live inside of it, right?
That's funny.
Yeah, but it's just something like unique like that. That's like, hey, this is like a different flavor than just like a webcam in the corner of a video game, right? Because like that's like the minimum, right? You're
Mm,
there and you have the medium, right?
mm-hmm.
Anything above that is just like layers on the cake,
Yeah.
right? And like, I definitely feel that live streaming is so it's like I think that improv and stand up are like improv. Like stand up I feel like is more about telling a story
Mm,
in a way that like wraps the audience into it.
okay.
Improv is more about creating the story with the audience,
Mm,
right? So like stand up, you have a story that you're betting people are going to love, and
yeah.
you give it to them and they'll like throw it back to you. Improv is more of like, here's a vague idea of a story, and someone throws something at you and you're like, well, that's the story now, and you keep building it like with the
Yeah.
people. It's like a snowball, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think that's super fun. I find myself doing that with crowds, and that's an interesting point. Is like for me, I'm an extrovert, and it's I find myself like it could be tiresome at times because like when you get yourself in a group of people, like
Mhm.
you're the one that's like making shit move forward, and it's like okay, but it's super fun for me. I love to do it, but it's kind of like come on, guys, like come on, let's bring something. I just I don't like when things are like super quiet or
Mhm.
all that awkward silence or whatever. So I come in, man, I slice that shit with a fruit ninja knife.
Yeah.
Hiya, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
let's go, let's have a good time, you know.
Yeah, it was
But
definitely
yeah.
a learned experience for me. Like I'm like I like because I'm an introvert, so it's
Oh, you are.
I've always had a hard time like when if I'm in a crowd or even like at the end of a live stream, like I'm literally drained. Like I just
Okay.
want to fall asleep. I feel so tired, and
Hmm.
like it's difficult for me to like it's basically like I'm putting my brain on like overdrive for like 4 hours, and then it just shuts off, right?
Yeah.
But like yeah, it's definitely like a learned experience being able to like just go in there, and like whether you're filming a video or live streaming, kind of just like riding that wave of like who you are, right? And
Yeah.
letting that show.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the one thing that drives me, at least when I'm in the mode of wanting to create anything, is like I get rather inspired by the people that just doing what they love to do, playing guitar or whatever, like playing flute, like whatever their music is. Like I'm
Hmm.
super inspired by this one piano chick who's just like the most hardcore piano player I've ever seen in my life.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Um, she plays piano on
Hmm.
Twitch, but she'll take requests and she'll play that shit right there. She
Yeah.
would never play it before, but she'll play that shit right there. I think she
Hmm.
did Dragon Force or whatever the song is, super super fast, like the one everybody plays on Guitar Hero.
Hmm.
I might be getting it wrong. Sorry, wife. She loves Guitar Hero and loves that song. Would probably be like, "You're wrong."
Through the fire and flames.
There you go. Yeah, she. So the chick was on Twitch and like they were all like, "Oh yeah, you're not gonna be able to play it." And she literally takes like 5 minutes to like kind of listen to the thing.
Yeah.
Plays a little bit. And all of a sudden, like 2 minutes later, she's like, just going ham,
Yeah.
and everybody is like blown away. And so, but the point is like she's doing something that just attracts a shit ton of people,
Hmm.
but she's literally doing what she loves, and that's what's
Yeah.
interesting about it. That's what kind of attracted to me. Is I think this is what can be the best evidence, and this is getting off on a weird tangent, and I know we only got a couple minutes, so I want to wrap up on another question.
Hmm.
But like when we are naturally, and I think the algorithm kind of shows this with YouTube at least,
Hmm.
is we kind of respond in sort of like a weird consciousness type of way. Like we're just all aware when something's super genuine and it comes through right through the algorithm. And
Hmm.
people just kind of feel it when they're watching the content. And that's what I think is interesting is like we're all just trying to connect together as humans.
Hmm.
It was something I had a conversation with another guest on the podcast is and I believe it was one of my first guests actually, because he was from Bulgaria but moved to Germany, so that was super interesting perspective. And one of the things that we talked about was how it doesn't matter what country you're from, it doesn't matter at all. Period. Like literally, it doesn't matter. We speak different languages. We all want the same shit. We just want to like live life, take care of our family, like not have like debt and shit to weigh us down, and we can live
Hmm.
a life that we're happy about and we're proud of, and we can do what we want to do.
Hmm.
And he shared the same thing, and it's like that's why I feel like people just connect with people. And
Hmm.
I think the problem is, we don't have to give them the government stuff. But like, I think that's the separation is like there's people and then there's government. But like people, we just love to connect and we all have the same similarities and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if you've actually experienced that with, anybody else you've met like from other countries. But like, I think the idea of us being separate countries versus like the Independence Day 2 movie. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Independence Day. I don't know if I've seen the second one.
Sure, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you watch Independence Day 2, it's not that bad. I personally didn't like it with Will Smith, but
Yeah.
whatever. But it's a good movie. It just conceptualizes like everybody coming together. Like there's no more country separation. It's like we're all together,
Hmm.
type of thing against a common alien threat.
Hmm.
Ronald Reagan said the same thing as well. Like what would the world be like if we just kind of came together?
Right.
Super interesting. But like in the sense of community, right? To wrap it back up to that is like it doesn't matter who's coming into that chat. It's like that's what's really cool. Is like that's the fun of it. Like you're really connecting with people. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? You're creating that community of people that just kind of like can give that energy back and forth and
Hmm.
super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely cool. One of my favorite people in the chat that comes to my streams is Jelly Duck, and
Jelly duck.
He lives in Kuwait. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Kuwait.
Kuwait, yeah. So like when he's in my streams, it's like 9 a.m. in the morning for him, and he's in a coffee shop. But for me, it's like 11 p.m.
Dude, that would blow my mind if somebody from across the world was watching my stream. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I think I really need to dive into that more because I love having conversations. That's
Hmm.
one of the reason why I started, the podcast. But man, that's super interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. Do you have anybody else from other countries?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I mean,
Mm,
I'm sure there's some people, but I haven't asked where everyone's from yet. I probably should.
gotcha. That'd
I
be
should
really
look.
interesting to get a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool because I think people would just have conversations in the chat, you know, in and of itself, just
Mhm.
because they'd be like, "Oh, that's interesting. You're from these places." Because it's funny when you find people from different places and they just all love the same shit, but all
Mhm.
you hear in the news and all this other stuff is just things that don't necessarily gel, if you will,
Right.
with the way that it seems that people are just communicating with people. It seems like you're getting like the wrong idea when you look
Mhm.
anywhere else except for just talking to people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think the news is kind of like wants like the news itself. They want those views, right? So they're make these headlines that are super clickbait
Just
and things that are like, oh, I'm angry about that. Like this makes me
yeah.
sad. Like I have to watch this. It's just
Yeah,
like YouTube in a more extreme format.
for sure. And then they started like invading YouTube and all of a sudden now they're on trending like, okay, we all
Yeah.
know what video should be on trending, but all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely dumb. But I know you got to go, so let's wrap up on this.
Let's do it.
So well, you kind of touch on two things, and we'll wrap it up. But you've been to Vid Summit, right?
Mhm. Yes.
How has that experience been for you? And like, how has it changed you as a creator?
Vid Summit, I'd say, really sparked like the biggest like it was like the biggest push for me to like really pursue this because like there's really no I mean I wasn't able to like we didn't have a in-person vid summit this year, but I went to like the virtual
Mm,
the talks and stuff. But when I went that first year, um being surrounded by like it was really a mind shock, right? Because you watch YouTube all these years and you're like learning how to do YouTube and like what to do from all these people and like your favorite YouTubers, and then you go there and it's like you're surrounded by them. It's like, wait a minute, this is real life. Like this is
mm-hmm,
achievable. It kind of like really like forces your mind to shift it into like instead of just like a hope, it's like
mm-hmm,
this is my goal, like I'm going to make it happen, right?
mm-hmm,
And like just the amount of like info and knowledge that's thrown at you like in one vid summit is crazy. Like and like being able to have like just the hallway talks, they call them, with like people in a group and talk about things, and it's also like very it's very like motivating because it like you get this big burst of energy that like really sets you out like for the whole year, and then by the
mm-hmm.
time the next year comes, it's like let's find time for the next vid summit. But like 100%, I'd say like if you're interested in vid summit, it's definitely worth it to get yourself there. So I remember the first time I went, I was seated just like in the seats watching our presentation, and my friend who's like 4 seats down, or no, I think who was it? My friend was sitting like 4 seats down, and like I noticed behind me that Mr. Beast was literally sitting just in a chair behind me, and I was like, "Hey, dude, Mr. Beast is like right behind me," and he leans over and he's like, "Who's Mr. Beast?" Jason, who's Mr. Beast? And
Oh my god,
I'm
dude.
like, he's like, I don't know who Mr. Beast is.
Oh my god, bro. That would have made me feel so embarrassed. Holy shit.
I was like, oh, what the hell?
Did he
So
did he say anything?
no, I just said hey. I just said hey to him after, and that was that. He had to run. But like, yeah, it was pretty funny. Now he's like part owner in it, so he'll probably not be in the audience anymore. I don't know. He'll probably be in the halls, but he'll probably have a special seat.
Yeah, probably. But
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting. His story is just a great one, and like how like that dude did not quit.
Yeah, he just set the intention, right?
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
like all you have to do is like if you want to get somewhere in life is to decide to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like literally nobody even could decide for you, right?
Right.
Even if you wanted someone to decide for you, it literally takes you just like making that commitment and deciding I'm going to do this and I'm not going to stop until I get there. And like he documented that. He documented
Yeah.
that process. And still to this day he has videos coming out like I'm going to post this 10 years later, like auto posts,
Oh yeah.
like of
I
him.
think
Like,
I think I remember seeing that one where he's like, "This is my message to me and my future self."
right. Yeah, and like that's all he's doing. He's just deciding to do it, right? And
Yeah,
he dove in. He learned over time, and now he is where he is because he put in the effort. He put in the time to like work on himself and his content and like build that like community. Like that's a big part, is like building an actual like
definitely.
community versus just kind of like a random view here
Yeah,
and there. Like everyone's still separated. You got to bring people together, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's. I get a lot of fuel from community, from like sort of a team thing. I always love working with teams. I'm always like a huge team player,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I really enjoy that. I think when you're building a community, from the things that I've done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I don't know, man, the camaraderie or whatever, like, kind of do this together kind of thing is pretty interesting, especially when you're talking about other creators as well. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed Twitter in that sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you and I kind of met each other through digitally, obviously, through, No Small Creator, through Cody Warner.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude's been super interesting. What I loved about him is like he would just like, respond. And so it wasn't just like I'm a YouTuber or creator or whatever. Like, he's got a family and like he's a real person and like he is truly about that positivity and stuff like that. And it's just super
Mm-hmm.
interesting and that movement. It really inspired me. It's just, I think the toughest thing, and I think everybody struggles with, is like you have these like super awesome fueled energy spiked few months, and then all of a sudden it's like, what am I doing now? Like, where's that motivation? And I think the difference between motivation and just making a choice to do something and creating a habit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
reading this book called Atomic Habits, and it's actually breaking it down. So if you haven't read the book, have you?
I think I may have, but
Yeah.
then again, I could be wrong. I have a lot of books that I have to get around to reading.
It's cool, but it's an easy read. It's like 10 pages per chapter type of deal, so it's
Mhm.
actually pretty easy to absorb. If you have time, like to read a couple of chapters every couple of days or whatever. But the point is like it really breaks down habits.
Mhm.
It like helps you really understand. So it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Mhm.
It's helped me understand where my lacking is, and it's
Mhm.
helped me to adjust things in my day-to-day life. Because the thing is like, and this might help you hopefully if you can
Mhm.
kind of take something from it, is like it bothered me so much when I would think to try to do something but
Mhm.
then think it's too big of a task or it's too big of a goal or what the case. There's like two aspects to it. There's building habits and understanding how to build a habit in addition to like a system or a process, right? So
Mhm.
like you have to start from like the most simplest point and then move from there. The phrase that I came up with, you have to standardize before you can optimize.
Mhm. Right.
And the reason for that is because if it's not a standard,
Mhm.
well, optimizing something that's not a standard is not going to make sense because it's going
Mhm.
to change.
Right.
So, like, for example, New Year's is coming around, right? But a lot of people want to work out.
Mhm.
And like, oh, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Like, I'm technically overweight as well. And I need to lose like 30, 40 pounds.
Mhm.
And it's really just because my job, like I don't move a lot like I used to. I used to work for an IT thing that I would run around a lot. That's why I
Mhm.
was 180 before, and I'm like 220 now.
Yeah.
Obviously, diets and exercise is all, of course, part of that. But the simplest point that you can make, the simplest choice that you can make to achieve a habit, if you will, it's like I bought a treadmill. So now every day I make a habit of the 2 minute rule, which is I'm going to spend 2 minutes walking on the
Mhm.
treadmill every single day. And
Mhm.
then if I just happen to do more, that's great.
Right.
Now I got my
Right.
punching bag, and now I'm going to start doing some cardio with like boxing, which has actually made me feel better throughout the day when I just shadow box a little bit with boxing gloves. I literally bought boxing gloves.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I really want to get into it just to get that cardio up. But like, it starts with the very simple. I'm going to do for 2 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm going to walk on a treadmill. And
Yeah.
so from creation for me, and I'm trying to standardize these habits and learning how to do these things. But before I move on to things like, content creation, because I want to make sure these things are ingrained. I did that same thing with like doing dishes. I'll just put a couple of dishes away. Oh, I'm already here, so I might as well do the rest. And so with creation, it's kind of the same way. Like I want to get to the point where I can do that. And so hopefully, for you, when it comes to doing the Twitch streams, like and figuring out how you want to do that, like, yeah, man, just start real small, start there, like standardize whatever that small piece is, and then just keep moving on from there and optimize it.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely relate to that a lot because like I had watched this video like I think a few months ago about sometimes I'll just listen to like these like motivational videos where it's like inspiring music and like people just talking like it's just really like over the top like motivation type stuff. But like there was this one thing this guy was talking about.
Those channels.
Yeah, I love those. I don't care if it's cheesy. I love it.
That's just great. It's usually somebody giving a speech at some university. Like, I'm listening.
Yep. It's like this guy was talking about. He's like, he was outside in like the pouring rain, like flipping a tire, and he was like talking about how it's like it doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if it's cold. Like I'm gonna be here putting in the work. Like everyone else might be inside, but I'm here. Like that's because I've decided like that's what I'm doing, right? And I realized that it's like, so I started from that point. I started to like implement this habit of like I'm gonna make myself jog once a day. Like I'm gonna go for this jog once a day. I'm gonna go around the park, and I'm gonna stick to it. And I was able to stick to that for like 3 months every day, just going for the jog. Because I realized that like starting, like you said, starting from the smallest point, like I want to get control of my thoughts, like my self-control, my habits, like my actions, right? I feel like that's the most important thing we can do is like
shut this off. Hold on.
Go for it.
My bad. I think I got it. It was that alarm to wrap it up. So please continue.
Yeah. So like I realized like getting control of like your thoughts and your habits and your actions, like that's something that I really wanted to do because I realized that my self-control and stuff was like very minimal. Like I'd do the easiest thing every time. I'd just like watch TV, and I realized that that's really holding me back because I know I could be doing so much more, but I'm inclined to pick the easier thing because it's my habit. That's my default state.
Right. So
I decided that I was going to start jogging once a day, and it wasn't for the exercise. I mean, the exercise is a good benefit. It wasn't for like anything, literally anything other than deciding that I'm going to do something and then doing it. Right. Like that was the muscle I wanted to build. And so that's why I started to implement that habit, because I was like, if I can implement this habit, then where else can I apply this? All right. It's like, if I can do it here, maybe I can develop the habit of creating habits. And if you're able to like systemize your like life patterns like that, you can really look at like, what do I need to fix? Okay. I'm going to make this a habit next. Right. And then you layer that and build it to the point where like you've completely changed like your mindset, your like your day to day, like your thoughts and habits and stuff is all like morphable, right? Yeah. So like that's something that I'm doing now, is like really trying to implement that habit of like I go for my run once a day for mental control and clarity. Right.
The power of choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to wrap up, like that's because I've been contemplating. Obviously we don't have time for that. We'll definitely have you over for another episode if you're up for it. But totally. The power of choice, man, was definitely something that I have a life story that kind of contributed to that, and how there's a power of choice. Like people need to realize, there is a power to making a choice and choosing something and realizing you can change your situation by the power of choice. So definitely, man. So I know you got to go, but let's wrap it up on this. So after you're done answering this, we'll go ahead and say bye to everybody. But we're talking about your studio yesterday, and so at first I thought it was a storage because that's what it looks like from the
Yeah.
videos and stuff like that. But like it's like a community workspace.
Yeah, so I actually have one of the garages in this big like kind of industrial like
Mm,
community space where it's like the floors above me are all like offices, but the ground floor is like industrial use. So I
mhm.
have like my metal machining CNC over here and like a desk and all my tools and stuff, and then like in the back here it's just my desk and my streaming setup. So I'm lucky that it has fiber internet somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I got it. So 90 up, 90 down is good for
That's
me.
dope. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Whatever works. That's
Oh yeah.
awesome. Because I actually, for me, I need something like that. Like I love having a little room in the house,
Hmm.
but I'm a person where I've like a physicality sort of mental aspect where I got to physically go somewhere
Hmm.
to be mentally in that space.
Yeah.
So I think I have been thinking on and off about trying to get myself like uh, an office or some sort of a space outside of
Yeah.
the house. So definitely, I definitely see that. But man, listen, I would love to keep chatting with you. I know you got to
Mhm.
go, but definitely have you for another episode. It's been great. I've learned a lot from your perspective on YouTube, TikTok. And switching between those two platforms, trying to figure out what you want to do with content and stuff like that. But hey,
Mhm.
man, I'm excited for what you're going to be doing with Twitch. But go ahead and tell people where they can reach you, where they can follow you, and how they can hang out.
Right on. So right now I'm on the YouTubes, I'm on the Twitter, I'm on the TikTok, I'm on all of them, right? I'd say the two that I'm focusing on the most right now are probably Twitch and Twitter because those are very like community driven. So if you'd like to like hang out or see the stream or talk any content creation stuff, you can find me on Twitter at MTLFORBRKFST because I couldn't get the full name because I was taken. And you can find me on Twitch at metal_for_breakfast.
He's secretly saying, "I will get him. You will be mine one day."
Hell, maybe one day I'll get the URL twitter.com/metal. Fingers
Oh, there
crossed.
you go. Hey, let's go. All right, man. Well, it's been great chatting with you, and we'll go ahead and we'll say bye to the audience. We'll see you
Right
guys
on.
later.
Later.
Cool, man. So that's kind of a weird thing with StreamYard. Like I used Ecamm Live was another software I used, and you could
Mhm.
actually pause the
Oh
recording
yeah.
or stop it, but it didn't actually because I integrated Skype into it, so I
Mm.
would have to stop the Skype call. But anyways, it had more control. I wish StreamYard had more of those controls. You can pause it or still stream, but technically not be live would be nice.
Right.
But anyways, man, dude, this was an awesome conversation. We had a lot of good topics.
Definitely. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
man.
I'd love to come back on sometime. We'll pick up where we left off.
That's dope, man. I'll tell you about the power of choice, and I think that I love. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast because talking with other people about what they've experienced
Hmm.
and kind of diving into it. What I found is I find myself not alone in the things that I feel,
Hmm.
and that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to do it was because I felt like I was the only person feeling this kind of a way. And when I
Hmm.
talk to people more and it kind of expose the way that I see things or what I feel or, the way I think, other
Hmm.
people start to like respond with that. And they're like, whoa, man, I've kind of felt some kind of way that like too, and just kind of have a dialogue. And I think that's super important to help other people kind of understand and realize that, what they're feeling is not they're not alone. And I think that's the
Yeah,
biggest
man.
important thing that, with you building the community and people that want to focus on that is like helping people understand, like, look, like, let's have some fun, but know that, hey, when we talk about these certain things, like, you're not the only person going through it. Like there's other people. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, can definitely look pretty like easy from the outside, with the whole that's social media in a
yeah, right.
nutshell.
For sure, man. But hey, have a good one, man. And you got my number, so I'm down to chit chat on there. If you want to keep it just sort of the hey, we did a podcast, that's cool. But if you want to kind of keep chatting, man, over text and that kind of stuff until we get to a point where we can do another episode, I'm down with that.
Hell yeah, man. Sounds great.
Sounds good, dude. Well, you have yourself a good one.
Hey, you too. Take it easy.
All right. You too.